Is Warhammer 40K just an endless void of text and documentations? Do we really need to know all of these documents just to be a competitive player in the world of Warhammer 40,000? Today, on Rapid Fire Tactics, episode 20, we're going to talk about exactly that. I'm going to help you make sure how to learn Warhammer 40K just a little bit better and understand what documents you need to be paying attention to and what documents you can just leave to the side until you actually need them. Stay tuned and locked in. So just get you caught up with all the information. This is Warhammer Community. You can download this at warhammercommunity.com. Go to the download section specifically to Warhammer 40K, and you'll see all the recent updates and all the updates that they currently have here, right? There's a plethora of information. This is exactly what I was talking about. Is this rules bloat? Is this too much text and documentation to keep competitive? Well, I'm hoping today that I can break it all down to you so you know exactly what sections to go to, what exactly to download to make your life a lot easier. So let me just break down every single one to you just to make sure that you understand what it is. I'm going to go, this is the recently updated section, right? Which includes some Eldari stuff as of today, when this is dropping, which is on a Friday, on February 7th, 2025. So this is new information that's come out, but this information actually came out February 5th. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the Monitorium Field Manual, otherwise known as the MFM, rather, right? And as you can see here, the MFM has every single, so in the content section, it has every single faction in the game. They give you every single army's points for detachment enhancements and for the particular codex units themselves. All right. So real quickly, I'm just going to scan through this until I find one where it actually shows you green and red bars. This is going to be Eldari, which was just recently added. Codex is coming out tomorrow, right? So as you can see in the red bar section with an arrow going up means that particular unit went up by 15 points, which they put in brackets, which is really nice. It's a quality of life improvement that they've done on these documentations. First of all, like I said before on the first part, when I first started doing all of these shows on Onslaught Gaming 40K, because I already created an endless void of having to, learning to play 40K. This is actually part 2. So we're revisiting. And also, I wanted to I've learned things too. And I wanted to teach you as well how to streamline this, make it a lot easier on you as well, right? So they've made this a lot easier than what it previously was. Now they have the actual increase in points, exactly how much it went up. So obviously it was 120 points. This went up to 135 points for a sermon, right? And as you can see, anything that is green and arrow down, like Vipers, one model went down 10 points to 65 points, so for 75 points. And that's how you'll know, right? That's how you know in particular what got a points increase and what got a points decrease. And this is essentially what an MFM is, right? Not much to it other than you can go to this section and say, hey, am I using the appropriate points? If you're using a particular army builder that is not Games Workshop, or you want to just use this before Games Workshop officially updates all of their points, just like when we get boxes like Death Corps Creed boxes and they don't necessarily put a points increase. You can use the MFM for that. So you could just use your practice games for the time being. Same thing that I've done for my Eldari, specifically my Harlequins when I played them prior to the actual book coming out and the app getting updated. I would use this to look at the points so I can use it in practice games so I can still be legit. So it gives you a little bit of an early preparation, which I really like very much. So like before, right? This is not to bash Games Workshop. This is just to let them know some constructive criticism, and to also let them know that how well they're doing in particular areas, right? So thank you to Games Workshop for streamlining this, making this a lot better for us, giving us a better quality of a product and information in the documentations, because there's so many of them, right? And then we're going to jump into the next document. Next one is going to be the balanced data slate. I kind of want to go back and forth to show you Warhammer community so you know exactly where to go. Right, this is in the core rules and key download section. So balanced data slate, let's go ahead and look at that very quickly. This one was updated as of February 2025. Right, this is another very important. So this is where I'm going to start showing you the relevant information. The MFM is very good in constructing your army list. The balanced data slate is very good in understanding what changes have happened in the game, right? I would advise you, if you want to be better in this game of Warhammer 40K, to read the entire balanced data slate and try to read it frequently. There are going to be things that you miss on here, right? This is what I do to try to be a better tournament organizer, try to adjudicate better and judge better at the events and help people with these rules, because my role as a tournament organizer / head judge is to help people understand the rules just a little bit better, right? To help them understand exactly how it works in practice of the game. You can read this text and think that you know exactly how it works, but if you're not actually going to events, playing at events, or running events, it might be a little bit different, to be quite honest with you, right? They don't have the best type of writers, and it's not very comprehensive as well when it comes to GW texts and documents, right? So try to get out there in the world, play with your buddies, try to have that debate, right? Not an argument, but just try to have that debate where you're trying to figure out with each other exactly how this functions, and make your life a lot easier. Obviously, initially, you want to ask people, right? Hey, what do you think about this? How does this work? Have you been to events? What have they ruled here? Okay, so people may be impartial in certain things, but getting out there, practicing is going to help you a lot. It will help you out immensely. So this documentation right here is 10 pages long currently as of February 2025. And this gives updates on all the faction rules, army rules, enhancements, FAQs, and things like that. And you really want to go throughout this entire documentation, because there are things that can affect your army as well, and just things that you want to be aware of, right? Like, just because you don't play Space Marines, for example, knowing that Inceptors can no longer deep strike within 3 inches makes you a better player, right? That way, when you're playing against Space Marines, you're like, hey, I know you're looking at your codex, and your codex says you can drop within 3 inches. But I was just currently reading this documentation on balanced data slate, which trumps your codex, which is a newer document, right? And this information states that you can no longer do it, and it says that no one can do this any longer. Also, things like blood surge for berserkers, even though that rule kind of started with berserkers in the World Leaders Army, it has changed completely throughout the game for every faction that has the exact same rule or a very similar rule to it, right? So it does behoove you, and it's definitely in your benefit to read all of these documents, regardless if it's your faction or not. It's going to be things to improve you as a player when you're playing against these armies. You're going to a tournament or whatever it might be. You're going to these places and you're trying to be a better player. You're going to understand. You might understand it better than them, which is going to be very, very helpful to you, right? So you have every single faction in here. Games Workshop puts a very clean, organized document, and their documents themselves are improving, are very, very good. They're definitely on a higher level of organizational skills and things like that. It's just the amount of documents that we have to get into. And once you kind of narrow down which of those documents you really need to pay attention to, then everything else just seems superfluous, right? Just unnecessary. So as you can see, they talk about orcs, space marines, uh, all types of information in here. Very pertinent information to you being a better player into the game itself. Thousand Sons, Tyranids, Tau. Like I said, every single faction, all the way to the end, right? And you're going to see updates for a lot of things. They're going to talk about data sheets, particular units, annihilator abilities that also affect just about every single annihilator, predator annihilator in the game as well. So another document, read this, read it over a couple times, right? And I know that can be daunting to a lot of people. There are programs out there. I know Amazon has programs out there that would literally read this text to you while you're driving. If you're an individual who likes to travel, have the text read to you, right? Or ask your significant other, or if reading is daunting to you, right? Try to figure it out, but you want to kind of know exactly what's going on here. This is an important document piece for you to just be a better player. And then now we're going to jump into another document. All right, so on to the second one. I know I mentioned the MFM, and you would think that that would be the first one, but I don't think this document is necessarily, needed to be more competitive in the game. It's just an essential piece that you have to use in order to play the game legally, right? A lot of army builders are going to already have this updated for you, so that's not completely necessary, just to be more competitive and understanding the rules of the game. Balanced Data Slate is going to be the first one. Now we're going to go to the Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion. All right. And what the Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion does is it talks about the tournament setting itself. So for everything that's in the little pamphlet and your little card deck, right? The Pariah Nexus card deck, it comes in here as well. So you don't need that pamphlet. You could just look it up on Warhammer, Warhammer community downloads. Bring it up in here. Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion talks about all of the information up there, and it updates it for you as well, right? Talks about new orders, which gives you the ability to discard and draw new secondary mission cards. That way you're up to date on that. Up to date with the secret missions, knowing that in the 5th battle round you cannot score any VP from the primary mission cards anymore. And if you look at old documents, it will not have that update on there, obviously, because those are tangible and this is digital. So that's why it's very important to run through this as well. Read this companion, even if you're not a tournament organizer, even if you're not a tournament player, right? If you're playing through the Pariah Nexus just card deck, you still want to read through this so you understand the rules very efficiently. You're going to see in here as well where secondary cards are going to be updated as well, right? This one right here, recover assets, no longer being a fixed mission. So you cannot have you cannot use this as a fixed mission anymore. But if you look at your cards and you have an old deck of Pariah Nexus cards, it is a fixed mission. So it's going to talk about all that in here, give you updates. All of the red text is all updates. It also gives you FAQs in here, right? Very, very good FAQs that are particular to these secondary missions, the primary missions, and the actual Pariah Nexus itself, right? Very, very important information that you're not going to find. And this is just one thing that it's either good or bad, depending how you look at it. Do you want this information also in the core rules updates and commentary section? Probably so, probably not. But I just want to make sure that you're aware there is FAQs in here as well. So when you can't find something, you're going to have to jump into this document as well and think about what in particular are you talking about, right? And what you're trying to figure out in rules wise. It also shows you the mission pool for all of the tournaments, the tournament mission pool. So it gives you all of the missions in here. It also talks about the terrain layouts, the sizes of the footprints, right? The terrain key components, right? Is it 2 inches or less, or is it more than 4 inches? Things like that. So you know when you're reading this, right? This is a single terrain area, 2 inches or less, right? You know, when you look at this, you're looking at the increments of every single box being 1 inch. It talks about all of that. And you have the ability to look at every single layout and break down every single layout and play with your buds and be like, hey, let's try out layout 4. Let's see if my army is better in this layout than in layout 5 or something like that, right? We all know that layout 5, this is a Dawn of War style. You're playing more vertically than you are horizontally or to a diagonal of any sort, right? But layout 6 can probably be better for close combat armies, right? This is played more diagonally and horizontally than vertically, right? And it gives you every single layout in all 14 pages of all of this information in a Pride Nexus Tournament Companion as well. It tells you about pairings and rankings. So when you're going to the event, you know exactly how you're getting paired, how you're getting ranked in there, right? That way you understand these particular things. You understand how to construct your army. This is what makes you a better player. If you're not taking the opportunity to get into these books and really read it and understand it, then that's going to inhibit you, right? As a competitive player. And you, at the end of the day, you really have no one else to blame but yourself, because you're not putting in the work to be a better player. You just want to, but potentially, which is nothing wrong, you want to be a beers and hammer player. And there's everything, and that's okay too. If you want to be that particular person, that's okay too. But if you want to be better as a player, take these documents, right? Read into them and get very proficient at them. Let's go on to the last one. All right, and once again, right, like I want to continue to show you exactly what you can gather this information. I want to set everybody up for success, right? I want to make sure that everybody understands this is what the premise is of this entire show. The reason why it was entirely created, the Onslaught Gaming 40K, the OCS, the Ops, and the Rapid Fire Tactics, which we're on right now. Rapid Fire Tactics is more informational, more intricate, right? Talks about how the rules interactions and things like that work, or new drops. But the last document, so we got balanced out of slate, Pariah Nexus Tournament Companion, and the last document that is very important for you to read through, which is just 3 of them, right? Yeah, you have the quick start guide, you have the core rules, but the core rules haven't been updated since, what's that, September 17th, 2024, right? That's several 5-6 months ago. There's also indexes in here as well for all of your factions, the new Grotmist attachments, which there's 31 of them. Combat Patrol, if you'd like to do those things, other rules, Imperial Armor as well, if you're using like Forge World products like Revenant Titans for Eldar, and Legends, if you like to play just beer and hammer games, or if you go play an event that have Legends, you have the rules here as well. If you want to play a narrative, you have the Crusade. And then you have the Codex FAQs and erratas, which they have 15 of those. All right. And you can go in all of those and yourself individually, because those are particular to your type of faction. I don't think that necessarily you have to read them all. It would help you. It could definitely help you be a better, more competitive player as well, to kind of go through those. But I think these are the 3 most important documents to keep away from all of this rules bloat. That way it doesn't become an endless void of documents and text in order to learn 40K, right? So let's go into the core rules, updates, and commentary. And in the core rules, updates, and commentary section, we have here so we have 35 pages here, all right? And I'm not going to go through all 35 pages or even scroll through them just to show you, but these are updates and erratas for the entire game. Core rules, factions, the new pivoting rules, the surge moves that I was telling you about. Here's the models, moving overhanging models, right? Monsters can move through here even though their wings are going to hit the ruins themselves. It shows you that way you understand. But if you stay in tune with these 3 documents, you're definitely going to be a more proficient player. You're going to definitely be a more knowledgeable player as well. And practicing and going out there is going to make you even more competitive player. And you put all of these together, you're just going to be unstoppable, I think, right? If you work hard towards all three of these areas, you're just going to be unstoppable, a better player, because not only do you understand the core rules, you understand the balanced data slate, you understand the tournament packet, you understand every intricate rule of the game, right? Or at the best of your knowledge of reading this information, and it's going to make you a better player. And then going out there and practicing with your factions, right? Or your faction, and doing what you do in games, tournaments, practice, beer hammer, whatever it might be, will make you a better player and more competitive as well, right? So I wish everybody nothing but the best. Make sure to look at all of these documents, right? And try to get as good as you can. Try to learn as much as you can. That way you understand a whole lot better how to be a more efficient and better Warhammer 40K player. As always, thank you very much to everyone that participated and watched to the very end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Leave some comments in the comments section and just interact with me. Talk to me. DM me if you have any questions, or if you have some insight, maybe some things that I should have added on here. Feel free to let me know, right? This is just my opinion on what it takes to become a better player, a more efficient and more knowledgeable player in the world of Warhammer 40K. And don't forget, Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away. Take care, everyone, and have a great night.